Welcome to Therapy Tuesday with Dr. Christy Kane, and we will be joined by an author, Drew Young, as he shares his experience, and we're going to be talking about a sensitive subject tonight. It's going to be talking about pornography addiction. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send Dr. Kane an invite, and then she will be joining us, and Drew is supposed to be sending me an invite. So let me get Dr. Kane on here. You guys all love these Therapy Tuesdays? Let me just add in Mr. Drew Young. Mr. Drew Young. All right, there we go. So they've both been added. And so this is Therapy Tuesday with Dr. Christy Kane. We're going to be talking about pornography addiction. So if you have questions for Dr. Kane or Drew, by all means, please let us know. And I wonder where they are. So it says invited. Oh, is that you, Dr. Kane?
Good evening, Dennis. How are you?
I am great.
Good.
I am just inviting Drew.
Okay, great.
To see if we can add. And
okay.
Hi, Drew. How are you?
I'm here. Hello.
Awesome. So this is exciting to have both of you on. First of all, congratulations on both your books.
Whoa.
Isn't that awesome?
Congratulations, Christy.
Thank you.
Dr.
Congratulations
Christy
to
Kane
you.
Is the author of Fractured Souls and Splintered Memories. And Drew Young, this is his second book, Stand Guard at the Door of Your Mind. And that is actually pretty cool. So let's dive right into this because I know we like to keep everybody's time valuable. And Drew, you had some questions for Dr. Kane about pornography addiction, correct?
Yeah, I had one particular question I wanted to ask about.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think very often, especially in the LDS culture, we hear of the phrase pornography addiction, right? And personally for me, I'm a coach and
He went bye-bye.
Oh, Drew, you froze. Are you there? Okay, so Christy, why don't we just start talking about pornography addiction then? And what are some of the causes of pornography addiction?
Well, usually there's two main aspects that lead people into addiction of pornography. And that is curiosity and trying to escape from some type of mental health issue. And I think it's important, Dennis, to clarify that there are, and he's back, Drew's back, there are different levels. So when we say addiction, that doesn't necessarily mean the viewing of pornography. There's different levels that we need to talk about. But I'll get back to that when he asks his question.
Okay. Drew?
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I just wanted to clarify. So I coach people who have kind of habitual porn use. And I try to stay away from the term addiction because I don't want to label them as such, especially when it's not all consuming. You know, when I see an addiction as something that, you know, you miss work because of it, you miss school because of it, you can't hold down a job, or you can't, you know, be a good father or husband, a wife, you know, mother, etc. So could you kind of clarify what's the difference between someone having a pornography habit and a pornography addiction?
Oh, that's so funny, Drew. You went offline, and Dennis and I were still talking, and that's exactly where I was going with Dennis. In the field of mental health, and I love the fact that you say you don't like to use the term addiction because I hate labels.
Right.
Labels give people permission to fail. So that there's a difference between saying I'm an addict or I have something. And so that's very cool. So in mental health, we have three aspects. We talk about usage, addiction, and dependency. So what you were talking about was dependency.
Right.
Dependency is when someone is not able to live life without the use of whatever they have become accustomed to needing to continue in their life. And so that's so important that people understand, especially in a culture where we want to eliminate shame. Just because someone is viewing pornography does not mean they're dependent on pornography. And so we need to understand those levels so we can help an individual.
Love it. Love it.
That's awesome. So, what are some of the warning signs for pornography addiction, Dr. Kane, that maybe parents could look out for? Because Drew has a child, and or his daughter is going to be older sooner than later. So, is there anything that he should look out for?
So, addiction alters the neurological chemicals in the brain, including the viewing of pornography. So a critical factor parents can look for is a change in mood. They become more restless, more agitated, more angry, more withdrawn. They spend a lot more time isolated. So what we look for is just a change from the person, because it is definitely altering the dopamine chemical in the brain. Because every time someone is viewing a tantalizing image, it produces a dopamine high. And the thing that people need to understand about this is dopamine doesn't go into the brain when you view the picture. It goes into the brain when you anticipate the opportunity to view the picture. And that's why it becomes so habit forming and habitual, Drew, is because every time I anticipate, oh my gosh, I'm going to get to go do this, my brain gives me a bunch of dopamine, which for a moment makes me feel good. And then I view, and then depending on your culture or belief system, you may feel really bad. So the dopamine goes out, you're highly depressed, and then you think about it again, and then you start wanting to view to get the dopamine back to feel better. So those are the changes,
Yeah.
Dennis.
Yes. And that's one thing I love about Drew is he's an advocate for mental health. And he's really out there, like he will take photos of his prescription bottles saying, I needed to change my prescriptions this week, or I need to call my doctor, or I needed to visit with my therapist. And I like that he's so open and raw about it, because we need more of that in our culture, I think. Wouldn't you agree, Dr. Kane?
Yes, that's great.
Now, oh, Dr. Kane, you're muted.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
I love the fact, Drew, that you're an advocate in this area, especially in a taboo topic that sometimes in predominant religious cultures, regardless of the religion, people are embarrassed to talk about. But the more we talk about it, the better it's going to get.
Absolutely.
Now, if somebody is watching that's dealing with pornography addiction, what advice would you give them, Dr. Kane?
Don't try to overcome it by yourself. You need an advocate. You need someone, and you need to be totally and completely honest. Oftentimes, viewing is due to some other mental health issue that needs to be addressed, whether it's depression, anxiety, bipolar, feeling insecure, lots of different things. So don't try to overcome it by yourself.
Yes. Now, it's funny, that I get so many DMs on Instagram. I find that so many people open up to me about substance abuse, but I haven't had anybody open up to me about pornography addiction. And I think there's a lot more shame around that than there is around, going to church addiction recovery for substance abuse. Does that make sense, Dr. Kane? Do you notice that?
Sure. Pornography is an in the closet, afraid to talk about, because it's so sad in our society, but we tend to label different issues as more negative or more bad. And yet almost all issues, especially when they begin to move from usage to maybe addiction to dependency, are impacting life in a negative way. So it doesn't really matter what the issue is. It's the impact to the human soul.
Yes, I agree. Now, Drew, do you have any experience or anything you want to share with us about some experiences or some joys you've had through, being honest about dealing with certain things in your life?
Yeah, so I'll touch on the pornography and the mental health aspect that Dr. Kane was touching on. So when I coach my clients, particularly clients who have anxiety and who delve into pornography because they're trying to cover up a negative emotion, right? And that's why people turn to, substances and pornography, all this kind of stuff, is because they're trying to cover up a negative emotion. And so I try and teach them the kind of 3-step process. It's called trigger, behavior, result. So what I have them do is I have them take a piece of paper and I have them write out, okay, what's the trigger? What is it that causes you to bite your nails? What is it that causes you to want to view pornography or scroll through social media, whatever? Is it a smell? Is it a sensation? Is it something you see? Is it the environment you're in? Then I say, okay, now what's the behavior? And they write down the habit that they're trying to overcome. Then I say, okay, what's the result? And 9 out of 10, they'll think about it and they're like, okay, short term, maybe 20 seconds after they engage in that negative habit, it's, you know, euphoria, it's pleasure, it's a good distraction. And then literally like 2 minutes after, it's just like regret and shame and, oh my gosh, why did I do that? And so it's very interesting to kind of help people work through these negative habits that they're trying to cope with through understanding the brain, just like you were saying, Dr. Kane, and being able to understand that, you know what, it may feel good in the pursuit of it because the dopamine release, it may feel good right after, but, you know, starting with 30 seconds after, you're going to feel regret. You're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel, oh my gosh, why did I do this? And it's so important to understand the result of our habits.
So what you're describing is called the addiction cycle. That's the trap, right? Let me view again to feel better. Then
Exactly.
I feel bad. Then I feel shame. And then if people reinforce the shame, which is where we have to be so careful, then we go view again. And so it's really important for listeners to realize not to bring shame into the healing process. No matter how many times there's a relapse, shaming just pushes them forward to more viewing.
So we have a question from LIV Max. Is there a good way to confront somebody about their addiction? Dr. Kane.
I would change the word away from confront, but there's a good way to open up a dialogue as a friend and love and just say, hey, is this something you're dealing with and how can I help? And if they deny it by pushing and threatening, you're not going to bring them to where they need to be. It's being that emotional support that's going to be so important.
They need to trust you, and they need to feel that you're somebody that can be a confidant. And by talking to you, you're gonna bear their burden with them, and you're not going to say things like, I knew it all along, or that's one of the worst things you could say if a child comes out to you is, oh, I knew it all along because, you know, I have tried to hide my sexuality for many years. And when somebody says that to me, it just makes me feel like, well, what did I do wrong? So that's a really good point, Dr. Kane. Now, let me see if we got everyone's questions. Please feel free to post your questions with Dr. Kane. We will ask them, or Drew. And I just want to give Cedar Fort another shout out for Drew's book. This is just released. It's Stand Guard at the Door of Your Mind. And also Dr. Christy Kane's book, which they are both, I've read them both. They're amazing. Fractured Souls and Splintered Memories. So maybe what I'll do is in the stories, I'll do a little swipe uppy thingy and link to those books for you. Still haven't
I'm going to say everybody go to Deseret Book or Amazon and buy my book, right?
Yes. And Drew, the same thing. So
You got it.
You got it. So, so did we answer your question, LIV Max? And then, because I did reply. Okay, perfect. I see the hearts. All right. Are there any closing thoughts? Because we don't have any more comments right now. Are there any closing thoughts from you two to wrap up another Therapy Tuesday?
So I'm going to say never let a label become who you are. Drop labels. If you're struggling with something, don't be afraid to ask for help. There are good pathways for help with pornography, usage, addiction, or dependency.
Yes. And I would say, Drew, do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of piggybacking off of what Dr. Kane has said and what you've said, Dennis. I mean, whether it's pornography or another negative habit, we all struggle in life. And so, you know, who am I to judge another when I walk in perfectly? Like, that's what it comes down to. Whether it's pornography, whether it's weed, whether it's, you know, not doing the dishes, you know, whatever makes other people upset, we can all help each other to find peace, to find harmony, and love will always help someone overcome a negative habit or an addiction so much more than hate, so much more than, you know, belittling them. So yeah.
Exactly.
You know, and one final thought, Dennis. Relapse does not mean progress. So many times when people relapse, they want to throw everything out. Relapse oftentimes is a part of recovery and does not mean you're failing. People need to know that.
That's a great point. So we have just a few more comments. We have Marion says, yes, drop the labels. Thank you to all three of you. We have TANY.EAT, dependent and active is not the same. For me, it's the same.
The dependent and addiction. They're saying, she's saying dependent and the addiction is the same for her.
Okay.
In the clinical world, it's not when we define it, but for her, she's saying it's the same.
Okay. So thank you for that. We love the honesty on here. And Marion says, oh, yes, who am I to judge another person? Love that. And we have somebody that Johnny says, help each other get it. Got it. Thanks, Drew. So thank you for everybody who joined. I'm going to save this as IGTV, providing Instagram allows me to, because sometimes they don't. I don't get it. So, and we will see you again. We will not be on here for Therapy Tuesday next week because I will be in California traveling, but we will pick this up the following week. Maybe I can schedule another impromptu time with Dr. Kane. And I look forward, and just_S says hello. So I'm going to say holler. And again, for those that just joined, Dr. Christy Kane's book and Drew Young's are both available at Deseret or Amazon. It's your choice, or Sequel. And we look forward to another Therapy Tuesday. And I would like to thank Drew personally for coming on as our guest. And if you have a story idea that you would like us to discuss, please DM Dr. Christy Kane directly. I encourage you, where it says, it says pornography. If you click on that little arrow where it says pornography, it will drop down and show you all three of us. If you're not following either one of them, click follow, because they offer some great insight into this. And we look forward to another Therapy Tuesday. And we also want to hear from you, because this is not about us. This is about you. And Dr. Kane is giving up her time to educate all of us. And we are so grateful for that. So thank you, Drew. Thank you, Dr. Kane. And thank you for everybody who joined.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you all.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.